Hello and welcome to another Last Epoch build. My name is Bobo and today I'm super excited. The channel reached 100 subs. Huge thank you everyone who subscribes. We're in the triple digits. I couldn't be happier. So thanks a lot, that really means a lot to me. But anyway, you came here to check out the build, right? So let's talk about the build. We're using a Spellblade. This build is great as if you're starting in Last Epoch because you don't need any special gear to do it. I am using a unique ring that makes my FlameReave do a circle AoE rather than a 1/3 of the screen as a blade, but that's only for clearing speed. The power of it is still the same without gear. The thing with this build is, as you'll see, we're using the FlameBrand, which is that line that I'm using, the attack line. It powers up, we get up to 4 charges with it, and then I use FlameReave, which consumes all the charges, does a massive AoE, and deals a lot of damage. You don't need any crit with this build, the crit is inbuilt, you don't need, as such, you don't really need any damage with it, you just need some fire damage if you want, but the damage is kind of fine to clear everything. What you want in your gear basically is just health and ward. So you're pretty much very strong, you have a lot of ward, you have a lot of health, you're very hard to die, and your damage will come from the abilities itself, the way they work together. And of course you can add fire damage. You don't need crit, as I already said, you just need some crit multiplier to increase that crit power, but other than that, as you see here, it deals massive damage, AoE, crits. It's a really great build. Let's check it out. For this build we're running Teleport, FlameWard, EnhanceWpn, Firebrand and FlameReave. For Teleport we have the clones, the clones so they can get some aggro and some damage off of us. We have the 5 points and increased elemental damage, and then I went for ward. We took some 4 points here for 28 ward and 1 point here for 1 ward per intelligence. So basically, if we have 10 intelligence, this is already worth it. We have FlameWard, we're running duration and reduced mana. We have 250 increased fire damage. We have plus 10 fire base damage, and then I went for the less hit damage by 40%, took a little bit of ward, and reduced elemental damage taken. So basically Flame Ward, apart from being a defensive, it's also an aggressive ability. So when we use it, we get a huge damage increase. EnhanceWpn, this is basically increasing our damage yet again. We have 5 points in attack speed, 5 points in melee fire damage, and increased melee fire damage. So basically base damage and percentage damage. Activation duration +4, so it lasts a little bit longer. Melee elemental damage per 2% missing mana, so we got more elemental damage. The less mana we have, we're gonna be burning through the mana anyway. We have the -20 mana cost and increased melee elemental damage by 40%. This will make the enhanced weapon free of charge. And the last point, I went for the melee lightning damage from physical attacks and melee cold damage from physical. Basically, the more damage our weapon we have extra lightning and cold damage. Alright, granted we're using fire damage, but we have so much increased elemental damage here, increased elemental damage there, that the lightning and cold damage are also gonna get some increased elemental damage from it, and it's gonna do a little bit of damage. Firebrand, this is the main ability we're gonna be using, but it's not gonna be our main damage ability. This ability, we deal a little bit of damage with it, but it's basically an activator for FlameWard. So we got the increased damage plus 50% to help us kill trash, so we don't have to use the FlameWard all the time. 1 point and 20% damage per stack, 1 point and guaranteed crit with 3 stacks. We took 2 maximum stacks, not really sure if we need this. You can remove the points from here and take them to the stack refresh. I'll talk about this in a second. Ward gained when we're hitting at least one enemy, we're getting ward. This is gonna give us 40 ward per hit, so we're gonna be hitting, we're gonna have stacks of 40 ward coming in. It's gonna help us survive. 3 points attack speed per stack, so as we're hitting, we will get more attack speed. And the maximum speed is 27%, so basically 3 charges. And then we have some stack duration. So when you hit with Firebrand, you have a stack. I think it lasts about 4 seconds. And the more you hit, the more stacks you have, but they start reducing. So if you hit your first stack, it's on an independent timer. Your second stack is not gonna restart the timer for both of them. It's gonna just have an independent cooldown for all of them. Not cooldown, they're gonna run out independently from each other. With the stack refresh, when you have a new stack, they will refresh. So if you now hit again the target and you have 4 stacks on it, all the stacks will run out at the same time. Basically, you don't really need it. I found myself using Firebrand 3 times, getting the guaranteed crit, and then casting FlameReave. Now, FlameReave, what's important about this ability? We go for attack speed and reduced mana cost. This is mainly a travel point. We get the Rhythm of Fire. Every fourth use of FlameReave has greatly increased width, range, and damage. When we use the fourth FlameReave, so we cast FlameReave 4 times, we have more range, we have more width, and we have more damage. Alone, this ability is not that great, but then we have versatility. What does this do? Using Firebrand or Mana Strike also counts as using FlameReave. So now we can use 3 stacks of Firebrand. We use FlameRand 3 times, we get 3 stacks, we have a guaranteed crit, and of course, we get increased damage per stack when we use something else, your next melee attack that is not Firebrand. So we have 60% more damage from Incineration, 100% crit with Illuminating Fire, and then we have we've cast Firebrand 3 times. We go on to FlameReave. With the Rhythm of Fire, we have the fourth use coming up. So now it's gonna do 100% extra weight, extra range, and extra damage, making it extremely strong. And then we go 3 points in increased melee damage, 3 points in increased melee damage, and 1 point in Flame Caller. So the flames return to us, so it basically hits twice. Rest of the points go in melee fire damage and melee fire damage with swords, increasing that base damage to make it stronger. For passives, we went 8 point in intelligence, fire resist, lightning resist, health and mana, and knowledge of destruction. Basically, we're just getting the 15% crit multiplier. The increased crit chance is gonna help with Firebrand, but not with FlameReave, because we have 100% crit with FlameReave. Instead, you can mess the points around and go for the increased attack speed. Spellblade, we went for increased elemental damage, fire damage for fire melee attacks plus 16 base damage, really great point. We went for arcane shielding. This will make us take 10% less damage and gain ward per second. I shattered the shield with Shattered Ages. This will make our shield weaker. It will only be 40% effective, but it can stack up to 4 times. This also increases armor, which we're gonna totally ignore. We just want to shatter the shield. So the shield now is only 40% effective. So when we're hitting an enemy, we're only getting 4 reduced damage taken and 8 ward per second. But it stacks up to 4 times. So quick math, for 4 is 16. When we're hitting an enemy, we're getting 16% reduced damage taken. And when we're getting ward, we're getting 32 rather than 20. So it's a big jump to both of them. As long as we have 4 stacks, which we're gonna be doing all the time, because we're gonna be hitting in melee all the time. The 16% less damage taken also counters the Gemini, which when we have 2 swords, it's gonna make us take 15% more damage. But since we have the minus 16% more damage, we come up with minus 1% damage taken. Fireblood, extremely great ability, 8 vitality, 8 melee fire damage, base fire damage, it's really great. Attack speed and ward, we'll be generating a lot of ward as we're attacking. We want ward on gear, we want ward retention on gear, and we want fire damage on gear. We don't, as I already said, we don't need any crit because the crit is coming from the Firebrand. 8 points in dexterity, base fire damage, 10 points in increased elemental damage with high cost melee attacks. This is only applying to FlameReave, but that's fine. FlameReave is our main source of damage. Firebrand is just the we just use it to create the stacks to make FlameReave stronger. Basically, we'll be poking them with a stick and then shoot them with a bazooka. I put only 5 points in Blade Weaver. What this does is when you use a melee attack that costs less than 10 mana, Firebrand is free. So Firebrand is the attack that costs less than 10 mana. We gain a stack of Blade Weaving. So basically this will farm stacks up to a maximum depending how much points we put in it. I've put 5 points. I think that's more than enough. When we use a melee attack that costs 10 or more mana, the FlameReave costs 10 or more mana, the stacks are consumed and we deal 15% more elemental damage per stack consumed. So it can go up to 150 elemental damage, mine only goes up to 75% because I mainly use Firebrand 3 times and my fourth attack is always gonna be a FlameReave. A little quick tip about gear, we want to have dual 2 crystal swords. This will give us 40 melee physical damage, 100% to 160% increased melee elemental damage, and increased melee elemental attack speed as base stats. This is a really good sword, and we're gonna be dual wielding this. It's gonna give us a lot of damage. For the ring, the only unique we need, it is not mandatory in any way, but it helps us out a lot. This will give 14% melee fire damage, not percent, sorry, it's base 14 fire damage. It's gonna make our FlameReave cost more mana, but we don't really care about that because it doesn't really matter to us. We don't really have that many issues with mana. Obviously, the less mana it costs, the better, but that's fine. A chance to ignite on melee hit, increased fire damage over time are both kinda meh. We get fire resistant, we get increased fire damage. And the most important thing about the Sunret is that FlameReave hits enemy in an explosion circle around you. So basically we'll be AoEing all the screen. This is a really good build. The Sunret is not mandatory at all. We can use it just as a blade. That's fine. You're gonna have a little bit less of a clear, or you need to position yourself better, but it's still a really great build to start your last Epoch gaming with because it doesn't really require any gear. Thanks again everyone for watching this build. I really hope you like it. Gonna leave you with a Lagon kill. And again, before I go, huge thank you for 100 subscribers. It's a huge milestone for me and I really appreciate this. Thank you again. See you next time. Bye.
Shatter you! Can you survive my spores? Your blood will be a drop in my ocean. starting to bore me. My waves will shatter you. Survive my storms! Your blood will be but a drop in my ocean. Ha! Is that the best you can?